Hey YouTube, it's here. The bass is done. It's complete. I have it. That's it. I have it. It's done. It's been so long. For those of you in the know, and it's probably not going to be all of you because it's been probably 20 something months that I've had this project in the works. This is the new main axe, the Ben horn. I've had my tech build this for me, and literally I think that started 18, 19, 20 months ago, a year and a half plus. Now, don't get mad at my tech, don't get mad at me. There's a lot of extenuating circumstances that made this take a long time. I mean, one, you have to order parts and stuff, they have to come in. Sometimes things are out of stock, that adds time. There's this little thing called coronavirus that made everything take more time. And there were just a bunch of other things that made this take more time. And honestly, I didn't need this instrument for basically this entire time. So if there was going to be a long wait for a really cool bass trombone, this was the time to wait. And I think in the meantime, I had 5 or 6 bass trombones to get me by, so I wasn't hurting, right? I would have liked to have the best possible bass trombone the whole time, but I didn't need it the whole time. So here we are, however many months later. In case you didn't know, my first premier bass trombone that I really enjoyed was my Brass Lab stainless steel valve section that I had this bell mounted to, and that was really awesome valve section. I got tired of keeping the valves working. I kind of had to take them apart, re-oil them like every day. It was kind of a drag. They played so well and they sounded so good, but it was a drag. And so I sold those on and I got a pair of Meinl-Schmidt rotors in kind of like an oversized bore. I think they were 615, which is like the next bore size up after normal bass rotors. And they were actually really good. But there are a couple things about them I didn't like. The throw on the F valve was always super long. And I think at the time I just didn't play very well. And so I blamed a lot of my problems on the valves. And I ended up selling those too because I was like, you know what, I'm done with these. And I had another bass, so I was like, well, I can deal with that for a while. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go all out, and I'm not gonna go to Shires and get fitted or anything, even though that'd be ideal. I'm gonna have my tech make me the ideal valve section for me. Olson or Instrument Innovations axial valves, and a few custom things that I really want in a valve section. Now, what did I want? I want lightweight. My stainless steel horn was amazing, but it was a chonker. It was a heavy boy. It had stainless steel valve casings. It had a heavy wall tubing. It didn't have a lot of bracing, but it was just heavy, and it was not fun to play, especially with a screw bell. I actually didn't have this screw bell at the time. I had a different one, but when I would travel, I would play that, and it was just so heavy. And so, keeping that in mind, I really wanted something lighter, and that means less bracing, and something I learned from Shires actually is a lightweight valve section. So what does that mean? You'll notice the tuning slides on the F attachment, and to an extent the G flat attachment up here, are short. So usually this G flat attachment nickel tubing right here would go all the way to down here somewhere, and on the F attachment it would go all the way to this ferrule. And this one would go all the way to this ferrule. You can see that on the other Corporation Bach axial horn that I happen to own. You can see the tuning slides are really long. This one not quite so much on this side. They're much longer than they are on this instrument. And what that does is there's a bunch more nickel because you have to have that outer tubing, and it's all double walled because you have the inside tubing as well. And I'm not really sure of the reason that that's a thing. There's probably some acoustical thing that they decided on a long time ago, but you're never pulling these out that far. I mean, this right now is in tune all the way in, so I don't need to pull it out at all. I could deal with literally no tuning slide and just have like a spit valve on it or something. So I've never really understood why they were that long in the first place. And then I saw that Shires offers the lightweight axial valve section on the Koran model, and you can order it specially. This was actually started by Charlie Vernon, who ordered a section just like that for him. And he's just like, I don't need all this pull, and I like a lighter instrument. So I had Ben do that. He just ordered the usual outer tuning slide stuff, the usual inner tuning slide stuff, and made it shorter, and then added straight valve tubing in both of these spots. So that saves a ton of weight, and just, to me, makes a lot of sense to make that a lot shorter. And then bracing wise, there's obviously the main bell braces, 2 of those, and cool enough, this is set up for Greenho spacing. So I can put any Greenho bell on here, and I can put these bells on any Greenho valve section. I think that's pretty cool. There's one brace to the F attachment right here. That's a usual Thayer thing. That's on most instruments, including this one. You can see it in that gap right there. And then, aside from that, there's only the one spider brace. It's hard to show on camera right here. Only the one spider brace in back. All edge bracing, which means there's no bracings between the bell itself and the valve wraps. So I can take the bell off and not undo any other stuff. And it kind of lets the bell vibrate more freely. Now, one thing you might notice, one, I think the spider brace is pretty cool. It's not like symmetrical or anything. It's just kind of like bloop. I enjoy that a lot. You might notice how wide this is. Look at this gap right here. Put my eye in there. That's because this valve wrap is entirely custom, right? When OE Thayer was a thing, they sold valves, and they also sold the entire valve wrap, and you could literally just Lego piece the whole thing together, you know, with a torch and solder and ferrules and all this stuff. It would just fit. It would all work together. With the Instrument Innovations axials, that doesn't really exist. They sell wrap parts, but you still, if you're putting this together, have to finagle it all together. And when you put this together, there was no part here. I think this one was correct, but this one, there was no part that fit. And so he kind of had to finagle it, and it ended up just being wider than a normal horn. Now, some of you guys are like, oh my God, that's so wide. How's it going to fit? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Right now, my normal case is this gig bag, which fits with no issues. And the one that I was really worried about is, of course, my screw bell case, which is seemingly just as wide as the horn itself, and it fits in here perfectly. There's no clearance issues at all. There's like daylight between the slide, which fits in the top, and the valve section, which sits down here. There's no problems at all. So honestly, there's kind of no downside to having a wide instrument like this. I mean, when you're holding it, it literally just doesn't matter how wide it is. And I also kind of think it looks kind of cool when it's super wide like this. I don't know, maybe that's just me. So, like I said, I wanted lightweight, which means a lot of the stuff is different. He's made previous Olsen axial instruments before, and there are a lot of braces on them, really heavy. They played really well, and I was like, I don't really want that. And so I had him build it lighter. And I was a little bit afraid that it might end up being kind of light and bright, not really the orchestral horn that I was building it to be. And guess what? It's actually super awesome, wide, big orchestral sound, but still has the fast response that I wanted. It's got an awesome high range. It's got an awesome low range. I mean, I can't tell you too much because I've only played it for 3 hours total at this point, something like that. And of course, I've been playing small tenor this whole week. I'll give you a much better review after I've played it in real life and practiced it a bunch and stuff. There's some things that are not perfect about it, and we'll talk about those too. But anyway, that's it. Ball bearing, axial valve section with both of my favorite bells. And I can use both of my favorite slides, my Edwards and my Shire slides. Super cool instrument. So excited to have it. I'm just going to play it like the rest of the day today. And I'll have more for you in a bit. Bye-bye.